Okay. Welcome everybody. Thanks for
Yeah,
tuning in tonight.
thank you.
I'm hanging out with Ray Bratcher tonight, and I'm just gonna talk a little bit with him. I've only had one real full conversation with him. We've had a little bit of spotty talking back and forth over the last few years. I know he's into natural health. I know he's into natural healing. I know he has a radio show. That's where I did connect with him. So hopefully he can kind of talk to everyone in my contacts that are tuned in tonight to let you all know a little bit about him, what he does, and what he has done to get himself on my page for me to share him to you tonight. Ray, could you just talk a little bit about yourself, how you got to be doing what you're doing, what it is that you're doing, and I've got some questions that'll come out of that.
Okay, great. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me. It's great to be here. Great to see your gym. I really like the work that you're doing. That's how I first came to notice you, because you're working with people on physical fitness. But I say, what do I say? Get fit and get more, because you're giving them access to the limiting, to rewriting their limiting beliefs and working with their mind to get, they can get further than just doing exercises. And it's kind of like how I wound up in this field. What I do is I call it sacred breath. It's a form of rebirthing breath work, which was invented by a man named Leonard Orr, and I learned it from him. And it was just like a series of miraculous occurrences, like serendipitous events. Every one of them was a 1,000,000 to 1 shot. And it was like 5 or 6 of them, and they all had to happen. Otherwise, I never would have found out about rebirthing breath work. I never would have met Leonard Orr. I never would have been trained by him. I never would have gone on to, I became his lead trainer and his executive director, and I wound up training people from all over the world, including a lot of, famous big names in the breathwork field, so that I learned from them as much as they learned from me. But at the same, I got into it for spiritual reasons. I've been spiritual my whole life, and at the time I was meditating 5 or 6 hours a day just to get to this certain state of consciousness, and then I could hang out there for 15 minutes. And then my first breathwork session, I got there in under an hour and spent over an hour there. So I was like, wow, if nothing else, this is going to save me a lot of time. But at the same, so, that was it. It was, it was a form of meditation to me. But, and again, there are no coincidences. At the same time that I'm discovering breathwork as a form of meditation and wound up meeting the guy who invented it, who, because of these series of miraculous events, I was diagnosed with a disease that there's no cure for, and they told me I was going to wind up in a wheelchair, paralyzed from the neck down, my body wrapped in excruciating pain. And the breath work healed me of that. So that's when I was like, okay, so this is serious stuff. This is more than just a new way to meditate. This can actually help people. And at first I was very resistant to that, because I wanted to work on the personal growth and spiritual aspects. And people that know me know I'm always saying that there's really no difference between personal growth and spiritual growth. Personal growth is about basically making your ego socially acceptable. But eventually you come to realize the ego is the root problem. And so then you want to transcend the ego. And as soon as you're talking about transcending the ego, now you're on the spiritual path. So the personal growth path, eventually, if you stay on it long enough, will become a spiritual path. So, that's what I was interested in. But, the universe had other ideas. As soon as I completed my training and went out on my own and hung up my shingle as a professional rebirthing breath worker, it was like every day on my door, and it would be someone with, you know, usually like some deadly disease, usually like very often cancer. And so rebirthing breath work has healed. I don't know of any disease in the world that it has not healed. In my own practice, I've seen cervical cancer, breast cancer, prostate cancer, asthma, debilitating migraine headaches, just all kinds of physical diseases healed. But I also work with people like emotional healing. Personal growth often is really just about healing, you know, healing your relationships. People get into dysfunctional breathing patterns, which brings up dysfunctional negative thinking, limiting beliefs, and it affects their relationships with their family members or their love, you know, their boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, or it affects their relationship with their work colleagues, or, you know, worst of all, with their boss. So then your whole life is just going down the tubes because of these bad relationships. And that's the emotional outpicturing of what's going on in your consciousness. And then we get people who maybe are stuck in a job that they hate, or their life just isn't working. And so, I mean, it works for, you know, it heals on all levels, physical, emotional, and mental. And a lot of times people say, you know, they have a hard time believing that, because like, how can one thing, which is just breathing, be good for so many problems? But it's really not healing all those different problems. It's healing the root problem in your consciousness, which then manifests in your outer reality for different people in different ways. And it's like, if your consciousness is messed up, if you're thinking limiting beliefs, if you suppressed, because that's what people do, they just make things wrong and then they suppress it because they don't want to feel the pain anymore. But it's still there and you have to get it out. And until you get it out, it's like the universe, when bad things happen to us, people sometimes think like the universe is an unfriendly, hostile place trying to get me, but really it's trying to help you. It's trying to wake you up. It's saying, when you when you lose your job for no reason, that's the universe saying, hey, you've got a thing in your consciousness you need to get out and address and get clear on, because that's what caused you to lose your job. But you ignore that, then you lose your wife. You ignore that, you get, maybe if you're lucky, a minor illness. And if you ignore that, now you have a major illness. And so it works for all of it, but it's really only healing one root causal problem. It's not really doing everything in the world. It's just doing the one thing, but it's the one thing you need. So that's, you know, I just like helping people, and I just feel like that. One of the most common comments I get is from doing breathwork sessions is, that's like 20 years of therapy in 1 hour. And then another common comment I get is, how come I don't know about this? How come I didn't already know about it? Why doesn't everybody know about this? Because it's just, you know, you're laying down on the table, breathing for an hour and a half, and energy just, I don't have to worry about, you know, did you feel energy? Oh, I'm not sure. Are you sure? Maybe you felt it a little. No, they're like pinned to the table, and the energy is just streaming through them. Sometimes their arms and legs move spontaneously, and they will feel like physical healing taking place at different points of the body. And so it's just an amazing, amazing modality. And, you know, when I first started doing this, there was absolutely no scientific backup for this. All we knew in the early days was it works. Didn't, you know, we didn't know why. We just like, well, it's life force energy. It's going through you and it's supplying life force energy to wherever it's needed. But now the latest scientific findings on polyvagal theory, they're beginning to realize they've exactly how and why it works with the vagus nerve, which is like the largest cranial nerve, goes all through the body. And it turns out that, I mean, I don't know how technical, but you want me to get, but we used to think there was just fight or flight, which is like the adrenal state, and freeze or faint, which is like the deer in the headlights. But now they found a third component. A researcher out at a university out west in this country found that the vagus nerve has a second set of nerve fibers that nobody had seen before. And it is a more recent evolutionary addition, and it is actually responsible for feelings of empathy and compassion and bonding. And he calls it the social engagement network. And it doesn't get activated unless the rest of your autonomic nervous system is in balance. So, you know, my theory is that is actually the beginnings of the end goal for spirituality, which is unity consciousness. We live in a world where people are like over adrenalized, over caffeinated, just type A. Everybody wants to be a type A person, rushing from place to place. They're stressed out. They're full of anxiety. They're out of balance. They're overcommitted, overworked, and they just keep caffeinating and adrenalizing, trying to survive that. And they never have the time to get in balance and contact this other neural net that puts them in touch with their core, calm, inner self, where they have clarity and mental focus, and they're not like, you know, a chicken with its head cut off, going from problem to problem, reacting to it. If you think of, you know, everybody probably knows someone who is like always calm and serene, never gets flustered or ruffled. And, you know, that's what I think of when I think of like a wise man or a sage. It's somebody who's always centered in their calm, abiding essence. And I think the breath work, what people might start out using it to heal various issues, but eventually they get to where they can use it to enter that sage consciousness, unity consciousness, access the empathy and the compassion, and get it. You know, the mind is great, but it tends to just talk nonstop, and it's constantly filling you with fear and telling you what you can't do. And those limiting beliefs, you know, can make your whole life dysfunctional. So this is like a way to like release the stress, release the anxiety, and get back to that calm center and trigger that social engagement network into working. So, I mean, I've been doing this professionally since 1995, and I've just seen miracles. And, you know, and like for me, someone who's afraid of public speaking, who can now stand up in front of a huge group at an important work-related event where
you were afraid to public speak?
No, I meant when I see somebody, yeah, actually, well, I used to be pretty shy. I don't know if it was the breath work that helped me with that. What I did was I adapted a self-improvement program of whatever I'm afraid to do, I'll find a way to force myself to do it.
That's a great one. But a lot of people are just they run away from all of the stuff that's scary, right?
Right. Yeah. And freedom from fear is a big thing that breathwork gives people. So, you know, I've seen miraculous healings, but I would also consider someone who could now give a speech in front of a large group. Who that's a healing. That's every bit as important. You know, because what I realize is I might want people to do spiritual growth and personal growth, but if your body's racked in pain, you don't really have time. You don't care about spiritual or personal growth. You just want the pain to stop. If your life's going down the tubes because you're out picturing all kinds of dysfunctional negative beliefs into your outer reality, you just want to get your balance back before you even want to think about any kind of spiritual growth. But so I do, you know, so I work with people wherever they are. And
Awesome. So you know what I'm hearing about that is because there's some spiritual talk in there, absolutely, but you're also addressing it in a real practical way. So you're saying like it's very functional, physical practice, breath work, in and out of breath, inhale and exhale. It's literally a physical practice. You could almost separate it from being a spiritual endeavor.
yes.
You could say, you know, like, I just want to fix my pain. Well, this is just a pain relief sort of situation, rather than we need to think of this as like I'm spiritually evolving. It's like I'm not ready for spiritual evolution. I just want my pain solved.
Right.
Like it's a great way to bring something that is, I think, profoundly spiritual, but to deliver it in a way that it can be purely physical.
Exactly. In fact, you know, I don't even really talk about, like, maybe on my radio show, I talk about metaphysics. And so when I do Zoom things, I'll talk about metaphysics. But when I'm doing the breathing with the private clients, we talk about what it is that they want to address. And we talk about consciousness factors, negative core beliefs that could produce that. And then I teach them how to breathe. And the breathing, I don't talk a whole lot during the session. And when I do talk, it's just pointers on how they could be breathing better, or, you know, you keep your breath a little more connected, focus more on the inhale, relax more on the exhale. It's all breathing related. I'm not there talking to them about God, right? But so this energy, when this life force energy starts going through them, it's looking for any kind of blockage. I like to think of it, a way I explain it to people. It's like you have energy channels in your body, and energy is flowing through them. So think of it as like a water system, and you have a pump that's pumping water through the channels, and the pump is on low speed because most people breathe. Basically, they breathe just enough to survive, to stay alive. If you watch people, if you can watch somebody breathing without them knowing that you're watching them, just can't do it on yourself. If you try to do this on yourself, you start becoming conscious of how you breathe, and then you'll change your breathing. And if somebody realizes that you're watching them breathe, they'll get conscious about it and change it. But if you can watch them breathe and they don't know you're watching, you will see that 99% of people will inhale, and then they'll exhale, and then there will be a long time before they take the next inhale. And that's because your first inhale at birth was a very traumatic experience. So subconsciously, we are all afraid to breathe in. And the only reason people breathe in is because they don't want to die. So they breathe in, they take an inhale just enough to keep from dying. So they breathe just enough to survive. Whereas, so this breath work is about breathing enough to thrive. And you you just go for it. You really pull that air in and you flood your body with this energy because you're breathing in prana. And when you breathe like this for after about 15, 30 minutes, you start to feel the energy flowing. And that's getting it flowing at full speed instead of low speed. So if you go back to my water pump thing, if you have pipes with the water pump pumping water through the pipes, and it's on low speed, so the water is barely moving, sediment starts to collect on the sides of the pipes, and your pipes are going to get clogged up. Then somebody comes, you can turn the pump to high speed. Now the water is rushing through, and it takes the sediment off. So when people have events in their life, and it can be minor or major, traumatic or not so traumatic. And also you got to bear in mind that when we're little children, like 1 year old, something that could be very minor, we can interpret as a really horrible traumatic event. And it gets stored in your body as a horrible traumatic event. And when you turn up the speed of the life force moving through, it brings that event up out of suppression, and you integrate it back into your overall energy field. And so it's all that's basically how it works. And then in the course of releasing suppressions, people might suddenly feel their heart flooded with unconditional love, and they might suddenly feel themselves to be one with everything. And then that's when they're going to bring it up, and then that's when spirituality will come into it. I mean, I remember Leonard Orr, who's the guy that I mentioned earlier that trained me in this and discovered this. He told me a funny story one time about he had a psychotherapist, an atheist psychotherapist, who came to him and said, "Look, I want to do breath work because I want to find out about birth trauma because I think it would help my clients, but I don't want any of this God stuff. I'm an atheist. I don't want to hear anything about God. I just wanted to have and experience birth trauma so I can better help my clients." And Leonard told him, "Well, okay, I won't talk about God, but if you do 10 sessions, you probably won't be an atheist anymore." And that's exactly what happened. And it's just from his own inner discoveries. But, is ayahuasca a spiritual path? I mean, people, I've never done ayahuasca, but I've had 2 clients who did and told me this was like an ayahuasca experience.
I've done ayahuasca.
Without the throwing up.
I've done that. Yeah, I've done that. But I mean, really, ayahuasca, like you're just, it's really an intention. It's really an intentional thing. Like you're coming with an intention, and they serve you that plant medicine, but you have to come with an intention, what you want to get from it. You have to come.
Yeah, that's probably that would be the same thing with breath work, I think. Like if you,
I think intention is that really the root of it. It's like you kind of got to want to heal something, and I want to fix this in my life. I want to correct this in my life. So you bring an intention to whatever it is you're using to heal. Breath is a wonderful thing. Movement, Tai Chi or Qigong or yoga or, some sort of physical practice, which begats breath also, like it's always got a breath. It's always a breath contact there. You see that common link to the breath. I think the breath is foundational. You got to see that the breath is linked to everything that we do. We couldn't live more than 2 or 3 minutes without it. So it's anchored to everything. And then, like you said, that there's a mental part to ourselves. There's a physical body. There's a mental part to ourself, and then you said there's a spiritual part to the self. And I think that's a really important thing to point out, that there are 3 aspects to the self, or at least body and mind. Like come to understand that body and mind, the being is at least 2. body and mind, or
Yeah.
left and
Well,
right brain, masculine and feminine. You've got to see that it's at least that. And then there's got to be there's some alternative higher energy, a creative force for the human. Whatever created that two bits, it's got to have come from something superior to that. Something higher created this. So there's some spirit aspect, and then there's that body mind aspect, I think, to the human.
well, yeah, you talk about that on your Facebook page and your website when you're with your clients. That's what I really like about you. It's like there's the physical body, the mind, the emotions, and the spiritual body, and it's all interconnected holistically. It's one energy system connecting all of it. And then the breath is also like when you suppress something, you develop a glitch in your breathing. You cannot breathe fully and freely and keep something suppressed. You breathe in a contract.
I'm losing you, Ray. I've lost you there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, got you.
So like you know how to breathe if you would never suppressed anything. So if you breathe like that, it brings up gets all the garbage out of your body.
So suppression. I mean, so when you say suppression, like you're saying, you've got some trauma or some sadness or some low frequency energy, some anger, some frustration, some jealousy, some envy, some blame, some judgment. These are all low frequency stuff. Fear, low energy stuff. These traumas get stuck in the body. So I see a real kind of agreement there. Like there's an emotional trap of something being emotionally trapped in the body, and this causes pain, sickness, illness, disease.
Exactly. There's a somatic aspect to it. It gets trapped in the body. It's like a contracted ball of negative energy, which is after you suppress something because you don't want to look at it anymore. In fact, the most advanced facilities for dealing with trauma use breath work, because trauma, it has a somatic aspect of it where it gets trapped in the body, and breath work seems to be the best way to access it and release it. But what's your definition of trauma? I think for most people, life on earth is a traumatic event. So and
yeah, so life, traversing through life, traps low frequency energy inside of the body. Emotional stuff gets stuck inside of the body, and it needs to be eliminated. And breath work is a great elimination tool. What do you have to say? Like, could you comment on detoxification?
Yeah, I mean, several things. One, breath work is itself a detoxifying process. One thing that I always caution people about is after a session, make sure you drink plenty of water, because you have a lymph system in your body, your lymphatic fluids, and it's like a second blood system. It's like it has its own blood vessels, only they're lymph vessels. So it's like your blood vessels going through your body. The blood is pumped by the heart. The lymph fluids don't have anything to pump them. What moves them is, used to be when we all, back in ancient times, when we all walked 50 miles every day, your lymph fluids would be circulated through the body. But in the sedentary lifestyles that we all live now, where the longest walk is from the parking lot to the office cubicle, where you're going to be sitting for 8 hours, the lymph fluid doesn't get circulated, and the lymph fluid is like the sewer system for the body. And so it's taking the toxins out, but it's not transporting them away. And over, like, by the time you're 30 or 40, you've got like sludge because you're right. And so when we do the breath work, it gets the diaphragm and the rib cage moving, massaging the vagus nerve and pumping the lymph fluids. And then, so that'll get them to your liver and kidneys, but you've got to drink a lot of water and get it the rest of the way out. So it's detoxifying that way. A lot of times people during a breathwork session will sweat profusely, and it'll be like they'll feel energy moving in their arms and their legs, and it's like a vibrating feeling, and they just know that something is being detoxified and it's coming out in the sweat. Breath by itself, 70% of, I think it's 70% of the waste products in your body are excreted through the breath, more than from urination, perspiration, or defecation. It's your body's primary way of getting rid of waste products. So if you're barely breathing, you're barely getting rid of your waste products. But there's also, when you do this breath work, it's like unhealthy eating habits tend to fall away, because your body wants to be, it's two things. One, your body now is, you've given it a taste of health and it wants to be healthier. A second thing is that, this over-caffeinated, over-adrenalized, living in stress and anxiety and fear consciousness is all about the mind. And then the softer feminine side, which is, the breath is like yielding to the energy of the breath. So it's a very feminine practice, and it gets you in touch with your heart, which is your intuitive side. So now you're receiving intuitive guidance, and you might get like a really strong feeling. I need to eat more healthy. I need to cut out the junk food. You'll like look at the junk food and you just haven't, it doesn't appeal to you anymore. You might even get guidance to go do a colon cleanse or a salt water flush or something. And then when I am working with people who have very serious medical situations, I throw the kitchen sink at it. So I'm putting them, only raw foods and, colon cleanses and hot and cold water and all the natural health practices that are out there, and we add the breath work to it to get at the root, cause in consciousness. And it's putting it all together, because I think that one thing is if nothing else, it buys time, because people can be resistant to changing their consciousness, and you don't want them to die while you're waiting for their consciousness to change. Because by the time I see people, it's like after they've tried everything else, it's after the doctors have given up and sent them home to die. So I will literally get someone with like 2 months left, and I have to bring them back. And so I want to give their body every advantage it can have while we work on their mind.
So the breath work you're saying is going to inspire people to eat better, choose better foods, choose better water, choose maybe even more movement, exercise, sunlight, nature, positive thoughts and words, all are going to be inspired by initiating this physical practice of regular routine breath work.
Right, yeah. It seems that that's the way it generally goes.
So this is it, and I don't know, like some people come to health through exercise, some people come to health through nutrition. I think more and more people are coming to health and finding breath work, which is fantastic. All roads I see, I think eventually come to the same place. Like we're all trying to come to a higher consciousness. We're all trying to rise our consciousness. We want to come into the higher self. We want to connect to the upper energies.
Right.
But we may not all be ready to think about it in terms of spirituality or in terms of nutrition or in terms of exercise yet. But if we begin this physical practice of coming to the breath alone, just practicing this simple thing, just practicing, what would you say? Some deep breaths in the morning and some deep breaths in the night, something, what would you say? I don't want to put words in. What would you say? What's the way to introduce or integrate this breath work into your life? What would you say to people?
Well, there's all breathing out there and they're all good. There's like coherent breathing and box breathing and 20 connected breaths. And you do those generally sitting in a chair, and they take maybe 5 or 10 minutes. And for somebody who's just starting off, they could incorporate that into their morning routine. I'm a big believer in a good morning routine because it starts your day off right. Instead of jumping out of your chair and running to social media and taking in the world consciousness, which is generally fear-based and negative these days. And then you become that person who's then like fatigued and exhausted and all the time drinking coffee all the time, trying to keep going and being stressed out and overreacting to everything. Start your day off with some meditation and some breathing practices and have a calm to your calm centered place before you go out into the world. Be fit for human contact before you, be fit for human interaction before you expose yourself to other people. The breath work that I do though it's not like 5 or 10 minutes. It's a pretty intense process. It's like an hour and a half at least, sometimes longer. The energy moves through you.
Workout.
Yeah. But a lot of physical fitness people like it because they approach it like it's like a workout. It's like just breathe in, breathe out. They focus on the technique, getting the technique right. And just one breath after the other one, after the other one. It's discipline involved because you want to keep going, right? You don't want to let if your mind another name for this is conscious connected breathing, because if your mind wanders, your breathing will not be connected. So in order your breathing connected, you have to stay consciously focused on what you're doing. And so you just stay consciously focused, breath after the next, and just keep going. And if you do that without fail, every time you will have a powerful energy go through your body, and it's healing on all levels: mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual. And it gets you out of your mind. Like you can't do this, you're not good enough. What are you thinking? All those just stop. You remember I said I first got into this because I just thought it was a really great time-saving form of meditation. When you sit down and meditate and the mind just won't stop. What happens during a breathwork session is they forget to think. The thinking just stops. They don't have to try to stop. I always think it's a lot better when, instead of trying to force yourself not to think, if you can just do the breath work, one breath after the next, and then the next thing you know, you're like, I haven't had a thought in 20 minutes. So you forget to think, you don't work at it. So, and it's like, you're laying on the floor breathing. So it's not like it's hard. It's not like it's people have done much harder things, but the payoff is just immense. If you want, I can show you some breathing techniques that people can do at home.
Yeah, you know what? I'm almost inspired you to. Well, I mean, we could just do that. We could just do some demonstration things, but I'm almost inspired to try and see if you would want to arrange like some sort of online trial where we could invite other people to come in and actually have the experience too. So I could do it and you could coach me, but maybe there would be others that would want to join in at the same time, and maybe it could be an online kind of group. Maybe it's only me, I don't know, but maybe we could open up.
Okay, you know, like a Zoom
Yeah,
thing?
why don't we try and do like a Zoom thing, and then at worst case scenario, it would be me like doing it with you, and at best, if we were to sort of promote it or something, maybe we could invite a couple people and make it into a little bit of a group, and then there's a bit of a group energy there, and we could do like a bit of a group deal.
That would be cool. Yeah, I'd love that.
Okay, cool. So I like that. So before we even go any further with that idea, it's just an idea that's just coming to me as we're talking about it. You know, let's just kind of bowl over some other things here that I've got written down. Like you did touch on, I mean, you've touched on caffeine a couple times. You said it. Like, what's your official stance on caffeine, alcohol, and like what are you saying to people about this?
I mean, I try to let the breath do the talking for me. People, ideally, you shouldn't do any of those things, but people are going to do them. I'm not like naive. I don't have like a judgment about it. I don't think like you're a terrible person if you drink coffee in the morning. But actually, we use a lot of things to suppress, and then we use the coffee to overcome the suppress. Like it just depends on the person. Like for some people, it might be really necessary for them to cut out coffee or alcohol, antidepressants, but it's like the breath will get them to a place where they make that choice.
So you're saying that you know, at best we don't want to be doing that, but that's not something that you can probably just will away in one instant. Like it's probably going to take a little bit of time and practice before anyone's really going to be able to make a change like that. A bit of breath work practice is going to support that. And over time, they're going to come to that realization that they want to give this up.
Yeah, exactly. The healthiest practice would be like not drink coffee, not drink alcohol. I'm not going to tell people stop drinking coffee, stop drinking alcohol, because unless it was like a serious life-threatening problem for that particular person, because I know they're not going to. But a lot of times when, if nothing else, how much they consume will dramatically decrease. And I just leave it up to them to decide. The same way that junk food falls away, things will just fall away without me having to like put pressure on them. But just as my personal belief, I think if you can get to a place where the only thing you're putting into your body is clean water and fruit and vegetables, then that's where you want to get to eventually. But I'm not going to tell somebody I'm not going to say anything except broccoli and water.
It takes a minute to survive on broccoli and water.
Yeah.
Or I'd say even better, apples and water or something. Grapes
Yeah.
and water, just grapes, that would be wonderful. But these things have to, it takes time. And I think it's a back and forth that has to happen before you're going to be able to comfortably walk away from coffee or alcohol. Like, you can force it away, and that only works for a while. And then you even have to let it come back a little bit and it has to become something that you're comfortable with and comfortable without. That's when you don't need it anymore. That's when you can.
Anything like that, you have to retrain your brain. Your brain needs time to integrate changes. It can't turn on a dime just because suddenly you got a feather in your hair that makes you think you want to. People that just radically go from junk food, alcohol, and coffee, and then the next day they're the Mr. Health food, that lasts about a week.
Yeah.
At best.
Yeah.
So
you can grab onto the steering wheel and try to force it, but that's not change, really. Yeah. That's not real change. That's abstinence, right? And abstinence is a start, is the beginning. And failing from abstinence is what leads you to recognize that some more work needs to happen, and it takes time. Because failure is a part of it.
Yeah, it's like you just teach you go without 1 day a week so that your brain can learn that you can go without coffee for a whole day and you're not going to die. Your brain doesn't like change. Your brain's job is to be buried. Mine does not like change. It wants the status quo. Even if the status quo is completely dysfunctional and ruining your life, at least it's the devil you know. And so the breath work helps with getting people past that fear of change, which is we get locked into the status quo out of a fear of change. And I think that's the biggest impediment for people that keeps people from making progress. And then looking back when, why is my life at 20, 30, 40, and 50 exactly the same? I had all these great ideas about how I was going to change things and nothing changed.
Awesome. Okay. So, we're kind of seeing things, I think, eye to eye there in terms of like, we want people to reduce coffee and alcohol, and we want people to reduce the heavy, complex, complicated foods, and we want to move to a simpler diet and clean water. This is what we want to move to, but we understand that takes time and that takes practice, and these are goals that we're working towards, and we're encouraging everyone along the way. And breath work, maybe movement and breath work are aspects of helping us, tools that help us to detoxify the body, prepare the mind and body to receive more of the spirit, take in more of the spirit, connect with more of our spirit. Even if we're not really trying to get into the spirit, it inevitably happens that we move in that direction toward the higher self.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, I feel like we really are, on the same wavelength there. Can you comment then about, the COVID-19 situation right now? What would you like to say about it? It's like
an outpicturing of human consciousness. I mean, here in the US, we first had George Floyd can't breathe. Then we had COVID, where people literally could not breathe. And that's our collective consciousness is telling us we need to breathe more to process out these traumas, to process. If you suppress negative beliefs, you wind up projecting them onto other people. And that's what leads to the societal breakdown. That's what leads to police brutality. That's what leads to, like a lack of a functioning healthcare system in the middle of a pandemic. We take our inner demons and project them out into the world. And so it's like COVID is remember I said, like on a collective level, we have negative core beliefs on an individual level, but we also have them on a collective level. Leonard Orr called it the death urge. Eckhart Tolle calls it the collective pain body. And you can read like I think it's Power of Now. He talks a lot about the different collective pain bodies of different countries that he can feel when he gets off the plane. And we are projecting, because our society has become so dysfunctional from everything that we've suppressed. Now we're projecting it out, and the world, the consciousness, the collective consciousness is trying to tell us to heal the collective pain body by breathing, because what we're being told, I can't breathe. Everything has been about, including COVID, has been about not being able to breathe. That's like the wake up alarm saying nobody can breathe. You're not breathing. People are not breathing. They're suppressing instead of breathing. So they need to breathe. I don't think COVID was a hoax. I'm not anti-vaccination. I think a lot of, let me put it this way. There are people who go skydiving out of airplanes and their parachute does not open and they're not killed. They basically walk a broken leg and a bruised rib. There are people who fall off a 3-step stool in their kitchen and are killed instantaneously. The difference is what that person thinks about death and how and whether or not they're going to die. So a lot of the what's bad about COVID is there's a lot of fear. If you get it and you're going to get sick and you're going to die, you could very well make that a reality for yourself. So there's so much in the public airwaves about COVID. People are getting almost hypnotized into creating it in their lives. It's just it's like if you know you're going to get COVID, you could go out into a grocery store wearing a mask, sanitizing your hand, your shopping cart, wiping down everything before you put it into the cart, just being incredibly laboratory level hygienic. And then when you go to pay, you're going to choose the one ATM card machine that somebody with COVID just touched, because your subconscious guidance that wants to fulfill your wish, which is interpreting your fear of getting it as a wish, is going to take you right there. It's like this actually, and they've known this since the 50s. On the Memorial Day weekend in this country back in the 50s, the highway fatality rates were just skyrocketing. There were all kinds of people driving to the beach and back from Memorial Day weekend. Early in the 50s, there were lots of car crashes and lots of people getting killed. So the National Highway Safety Institute thought it would be a really great idea if they made a bunch of commercials showing people the mangled bodies in the cars from all these accidents and telling them how 30,000 people are going to die this weekend. Don't be one of them. Drive safely. And the numbers just kept going up. And these two, I forget their names, but they were like two of the first people to start working with consciousness factors. They said, your commercial is training people to believe in highway fatalities, to believe that they are going to get killed. You're implanting it into the mass consciousness that Memorial Day weekend is going to be filled with traffic accidents. And they had them change their ad campaign. Instead of showing mangled bodies, they showed people having a great time at the beach over the barbecue. And they said, enjoy, drive consciously, drive safely, enjoy your holiday weekend. And the numbers began to plummet. So with COVID, I like the fact that we're taking it seriously now. I would like people to not to not be controlled by the fear. You have to get past the fear. So if you take charge of your own immune system by getting past the fear, stress weakens your immune system. If you're all stressed out about getting sick, you now have a impaired immune system, which isn't going to help you not get sick anymore. So it's a two-edged sword. You've got to, you've got to be wise about how you interpret things.
So you're saying, I think what I'm hearing is that a lot of the problem regarding COVID is the messaging that's associated with it, and the fears that are being generated within the person's mind.
Right.
And so
Which isn't to say that it's not real. It's just, like people will take what I just said and run and say, well, so you don't need to do anything. I get back to that traffic safety thing. Traffic accidents were a real thing, but when they focused on it, it made the problem worse. When they focused on the pleasant day at the beach, the accidents went down. And when the mass consciousness is focusing on the fearful aspects, the individual wants to be aware of how that could be affecting them in such a way as to make them more likely to get sick, and then don't allow that to happen. Staying well, instead of focusing on the fear of the disease, focus on the good things of staying well. It's the same thing with the Hawaiian kahuna practices. When they would heal someone with a broken leg, they wouldn't, the person would not visualize the leg healing. They would visualize themselves jumping and running through the jungle, climbing trees, things, right? The positive things that you can do when your legs are working right. So focus on the positivity and stay well, and don't let the fear-based negativity make you sick.
I like it. I like it a lot. I think it's really a personal empowerment message. I think that's what you're kind of sharing here, is it's a personal empowerment message to forge out into your life with a positive ownership of your health.
Right.
Thinking positively about how your health is going, where your health is going, rather than fearing what could happen.
Exactly.
So taking your health into your own hands, I think the terrain theory, it's about managing your health from within yourself. This is where I stand with regards to that. Managing our health right now at this time with regards to the COVID-19. So you know what, Ray, I've been inspired to try the breath work that you do. Like, I'm inspired to do it, and I think I would love to see if we can make it into a workshop, an online workshop, and then maybe if we could promote it. So, like, let's say if we said like on a Saturday afternoon or something like that.
Okay.
Maybe if we started this weekend talking about it, say next Saturday, Ray Bratcher and I are going to do a little health and wellness workshop. It's going to be a couple of hours. Would that?
Maybe 3. I mean, the breathing is going to take an hour and a half to 2 hours. And then probably, like, I'd want to give instructions for 30 minutes to an hour.
Could you make it a 2-hour workshop, or?
Yeah. We could do it in 2.
Yeah.
We could do it And then people can just know that after they finish, they don't have to jump up right away. They can just lay there and enjoy it.
Okay, so if I said something like, let's say this weekend I started promoting something that we're going to try and do together. Ray Bratcher and I were doing a little breath work, a little mindset chit chat next Saturday, a workshop, a health and wellness workshop, a natural health and wellness workshop. It's going to be 12 to 3.
That'd be cool, yeah.
Something like this, 12 to 3.
Wait, 12 to 3 your time.
Yeah, how's that fit?
No, you know what? I think we're on the same time now.
Are we?
Yeah. Right now it's 8:37 here.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I'm at, 8:37. Okay.
Yeah, okay. You guys went up an hour.
Okay, so then we could plan for a 12 to 3 kind of thing, or like a 2 to 5.
What?
I feel like 12 to 3 might be better, but for people, I don't know. I think 2 to 5, it's starting to get a little bit late in the day. People start getting ready for dinner and stuff like that.
Yeah, 12 to 3 is usually better, I think.
I think it's better, isn't it?
Yeah.
12 to 3 kind of thing. We plan for something like this, not this Saturday, but maybe next Saturday, and that gives us 7 days to kind of frame it up, talk it up. I can put it up to my email list. I can mention it on my social media, and we can try and, I can put it out to my clients. I don't know if anyone would, but I think a couple might want to join in. So if we could get a couple people to join in and make it an online community event, and it's kind of something new. I'd like to do something online that's health and wellness. Cool. Yeah.
That'd be really cool. Yeah, that would be great.
You like that idea?
Yeah.
So that inspires you.
Yeah.
That inspires me to try and co-interact with you on something like that, and perhaps start something new for myself and be inspired by what you're sharing. I know you're a professional. I know you've got a professional experience, a professional background. I like to learn from a professional, someone that has a professional background and pedigree. I like that. So I'm cool with getting on side with you and promoting your health and wellness day, and maybe having a little bit of time myself to introduce you and what I'm all about and what natural health means to me, and introduce you, and then practicing along with you for the day.
Yeah, that would I think that would be great. And I think the time is good too, because on a Saturday, 12 to 3, you're getting them before they can go out in the morning and do whatever, and then get back.
Yeah, they can still get things done if they needed to get them done, and get back and be home, right? Or
yeah, and they can breathe with us from 12 to 3, and then still, go out Saturday night.
Right. Yeah.
Whatever you young people do on Saturday nights in the middle of a pandemic, right? Whatever that is. Okay,
so that for me, I'm looking at that as Saturday, March 27th.
Let me see. Okay, yeah, that's good. That's clear for me.
Okay, I like that. I can already getting a couple of people in my mind already that I'd like to invite personally to that event. So I'm sure that we can coordinate a couple of people that are going to want to do this along with us. And then it's not only me, it's going to be like a few of us, and you're going to introduce us. I don't know if there's anyone that you might want to introduce the idea to, that they could come and join us as well too. But for sure, I'm going to put it out to my friends.
And same here, I'll put it out as well. So we can get a full house.
Yeah, who knows? Let's see what we can do. Let's give it a try, right?
Right.
Okay, Ray, I like it, man. I like this a lot. Let's talk on Messenger over the next few days, and we're already in the book for 12 to 3 on March 27th.
Yep. Great.
Awesome, brother.
I'm looking forward to helping lots. Thank you.
All right, brother. Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.